Murphy Austin Adams Schoenfeld LLP, focusing on business law and commercial litigation, is proud to support Rob on the Road, Region Rising. More information available at murphyaustin.com.
This week, Stephanie Bray with United Way. The California Capital Region chapter has been growing the common ground for almost a century in the Sacramento area. The focus, education, income, and health, the building blocks for a good quality of life and a strong community. How the United Way is tackling tough topics next.
And now, Rob on the Road, exploring Northern California.
Joining me now is the President and CEO of United Way, California Capital Region, Stephanie Bray. Stephanie, good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you too. It's been a while.
It has been, and there has been a lot that has taken place since we last spoke in March.
Yes.
First of all, what are you seeing in regard to the seat that you get to sit in? And that is with a major intersection with United Way. So many points come together right there. Describe that for us.
Sure. And first I want to say thank you for having this conversation with me. What we're seeing is the impact of two things that are happening right now. We have the pandemic. COVID-19 has upended everything, but we also have this social unrest. And the social unrest is really a symptom of the long-time structural inequities that have existed, that have affected communities, and in particular the Black community. And so the way that's been showing up for us as a United Way is an opportunity. One, it was an opportunity for us to very quickly convene funders, nonprofit organizations, to determine what relief we could provide to families during the early days of the pandemic, back in March, when everything started to shut down and people were losing their jobs and their income. And so we very quickly put together a relief fund, and we were able to raise over $500,000 and provide direct support to over 1,100 families.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And we learned a lot from that experience. It was no surprise to us that the majority of those who sought and received help were people of color. And they were also, a majority of them were women who were single heads of households, and they had children. And they were working folks. They were essential employees. And so, that really was a bellwether for us in terms of looking forward to the work that we needed to do. And so, we also, in working with our nonprofit partners, and the thing that I remind people when we have these conversations is that nonprofit organizations, most of them are small businesses themselves. And so when you have, especially a health and human services organization, when you're in the midst of a pandemic that has affected the way that you work, right? Whether it's employees coming into work and when things are closed down, and so they have to work remotely, to how you deliver those services, to how you raise funds, everything was changed.
And we're dealing with more than one pandemic right now.
Yes, we are. And so when you think about the social justice piece of it, that was also a wake-up call for us in terms of really lifting up the importance of equity and really addressing the structural, the systems and the structures that have contributed to those inequities. And so again, by pulling together a coalition to provide direct support to families, that meant that we had to really set aside, what we've always done around providing families with support, right? We've worked with nonprofits who do case management. and tell families, here are the things that, you can do to achieve self-sufficiency. We threw that out the window. And we said, you know what, we're just going to give people money because that's what they need. In terms of the social justice piece, right, and really addressing those inequities, we learned that you really do need to trust the people who are closest to the pain, right? And you need to involve them in the conversations about long-term systemic changes because they know what they need, right? They know what those barriers are in terms of the resources that they need just to be able to thrive, to the policies that need to be either revisited or written as new that will help support them reaching self-sufficiency. And we're not talking about, folks who, are trying to live their best life and, we're talking about people who just want to be able to support their needs and the needs of their families and whatever aspirations that they have, right? And what we know is that there are structural inequities that prevent that from happening for everyone. But, we have experienced, the deepest divestment in our communities. And we have been marginalized. Our voices have been marginalized, oftentimes, too often, actually. And that's one of the things that, we as a United Way are trying to really address in understanding that, community transformation is going to start with acknowledging that there are assets in those communities, right? Really looking at it from an asset-based model versus a deficit model.
That's good.
Yeah, because once you do that, then it's a lot easier to have the conversation around where the true gaps are. And it acknowledges that there is innovation, that there is resilience, that there is an ability to navigate through a very difficult world, right? That tells you and defines you by whatever resources you have or don't have.
You just said something that I will always remember, and that is to come at this discussion from an asset base. And when you look at it from the assets that our communities bring to the table, the united way, it speaks volumes. And I encourage you that if you get defensive about this subject, that it's worth leaning into through the eyes of assets. Because when you do that, you realize the opportunities that are not granted, that are not there, that are unspoken and spoken.
Yes, that's absolutely right. And back to really understanding history. There was a time when Black communities were what we call strivers, right? Where when you look at communities like Tulsa, and when you look at Rosewood, and even more recent examples, those were communities that Black people worked really hard to build. There were businesses that were vibrant and successful.
And very successful.
Yeah, and they were destroyed.
Because of that.
Because of racism. They were destroyed. And so again, having a conversation about equity and how we address it in this moment really does require understanding the history and really telling the truth about what happened. Mm-hmm. I think that can ground all of us. But the one thing that I will say, though, as a Black woman, one of the things that I yearn for is kinship. This idea that I am because you are, and you are because I am. And, that for me, tells me that my life does matter, right? that it does matter. And it doesn't mean that it might matter more than somebody else's. It just means that my life matters, right? And so, you know, to those people who say, well, all lives matter, it's like, well, that's not been the case. Our history tells us something else. It really does.
And I don't think that someone can say all lives matter until they can stand in the unshaken moment of meaning the words Black Lives Matter, period. There's no but, there's no all. I mean, you can't do that until you have proven that you're going to do what it takes to show that we're going to do what it takes to show that Black Lives Matter.
Right. And with that kinship comes shared accountability for how we got to this place, and then where we go from here, right? That we all own the ability to stand together and really make structural changes.
What do you see the most reoccurring theme of problem right now in our region?
Well, it's, gosh, well, for us.
That is your, and which problem that you feel is yours to address?
Well, certainly access to quality education that enables students to not only graduate from high school, but when they do, they're ready for college or career.
And you're talking about starting at the very earliest
And
stage.
we're starting right, because we know that children who are from low-income families struggle the most. They start out already behind for a variety of reasons, but mainly because of poverty. And if we can address that, if we can ensure that those students are reading at grade level by the time they reach the 4th grade, it's less likely that they will drop out of high school. And that is, you know, it's pretty straightforward, but I'll tell you, it's very hard work to do. It is very hard work to do. And what we're seeing as a result of such a high grade level illiteracy rate is that folks who are looking to employ people, especially in the STEM fields and other fields where there's a shortage of workers, including skilled trades and craftspeople, they're not finding enough of those folks who are prepared. And so we're trying to address it, you know, on the front end, right? We're really trying to make it so that the kids that we're working with right now will be prepared for the jobs of the future. And it just starts with providing them with a strong base.
And education has been a key pivotal column that you've been working on at United Way.
It has
and
been.
Now you throw in COVID, where many students are distant learning.
Yes.
And you also, we're talking about inequalities and, you know, just the applications, the things like what you and I are talking on right now, the struggles for that to be equal as well.
Right. And so one of the things that we're doing in partnership with the city of Sacramento is we are providing access to broadband to up to 10,000 families and up to 1,000 laptop computers. And so our goal is digital equity, because how can you attend school right now if you don't have access at home? You don't have a device. And so the city is partnering with us, as I said, and we are working to identify folks so that they can get access, because the digital divide has been around a long time.
It
But
has been. And you know what?
it
I
has
also
to.
have to say that if, I can't imagine what it would be like to have, because I don't have children, but if to have a child in my care to help teach them, I don't know if I could get past the third grade math.
Well, it's interesting because it's not only, and you bring up a really good point too. I mean, it's not only having devices and having access to broadband, but it's also having that digital literacy so that you know how to use it, right? And it's not just in education is one area. COVID-19 it's created barriers to healthcare for some folks too, where there already was limited access. And so if you don't have technology to do a telemedicine visit, right? How are you gonna, how are you gonna do it? You're not gonna have the ability to do that.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
So that's a huge issue for families. And so we see that as, kind of the next or another iteration of the work that we can do. And that is to really try to make broadband more accessible to low-income folks. And so that's work that we plan to carry forward, even, after the pandemic, because access to that technology is key to so many things. And we don't know when the end of this is going to come. And so we are going to forge ahead and make sure that people have the tools that they need to participate as fully as they can. And so that's been, we've been spending an extraordinary amount of time, trying to figure that out and trying to make sure that we can get that access to folks, get those resources out to them.
What have you seen and heard during this time, this 2020, that has stayed with you and will impact everything you do from here on out?
Well, the thing that struck me the most is, I'm a proud board member of Valley Vision, and they have been doing polling around the impact of COVID-19. And the thing that just broke my heart was when they asked 18 to 24-year-olds, I believe it is, about their mental health. Overwhelmingly, over 80% of both African-American as well as Latino young people reported feeling a sense of hopelessness. And I thought to myself, my goodness, even in the worst of times through history, especially Black people, we've had hope. We always had champions of hope. And it feels like we don't have that right now. And so that is the one thing that really struck me. And so every day when I get up and I go to work for United Way, that's in my head. It's like, how do we restore that hope for those young people and for the families who are struggling the most right now? How do we do that? What can we do?
I think it's important also to destigmatize whenever we can about mental health. I'm just going to say right now, I have suffered with mental health in my life, and I'm not ashamed of it. Yeah. And I think that it's important for people to talk about that. I've struggled with depression. I've struggled with anxiety. I have been through a battle with substance abuse in my past. And you grow and you go through it. We have to be for those people that you just mentioned that don't have hope. We have to find a way to shed hope and share hope.
Yes.
What is your message for hope today?
Well, I think for people of faith to not lose that faith. I think that's really important. But I also believe that, again, we have a responsibility for each other. And so, be mindful that folks are struggling, right? And provide grace, direct them to resources, encourage them to talk to someone, to reach out, right? And in turn, we need to connect with each other and reach out and say, hey, are you okay? Because there are good days and bad days, I'll tell you. I struggle with that as well. Because we're meant to be social creatures, right? We're meant to engage with each other. We're meant to be in spaces where we can share, right? And I can tell you that some people are managing it better than others. As a CEO and trying to make sure that my staff is doing okay. Because the work that we do is already difficult, right?
We see a lot.
We see a lot. It's already difficult. And so our hearts are already heavy sometimes. But now—
What is your mission? What is your mission? What is your United Way, Stephanie Bray?
Yeah. Well, our mission is to really bring together resources to help improve the lives of people in our community. That's our mission. And so that speaks to our role as a convener, right? This wonderful place where we sit between nonprofit organizations, businesses, and the government.
Yeah, you said it. You're a fulcrum, a beacon. You're a pivot. You're all of those things.
Well, all of those things.
You're a bridge builder.
Yes.
And all of that. And with that said, I would love to ask you if you could finish this sentence. What would it be? This is my story.
Oh boy. Well, I feel a huge responsibility. Again, we all have our identity, right? And, as a Black woman who also happens to be CEO of United Way, I feel a huge responsibility to ensure that mission. And it's never been more important to me than now, that we're able to help by bringing all those resources together, those who are most vulnerable, who are really on the edge, and who have been for a long time, right? So that we can provide that bit of hope for people. And I can't think of any other work that I would want to do or want to be doing right now, because that's how much it means to me. And again, we see it every day with the resources that we're able to share with people, and how all people want, again, is to be able to thrive. They want to have enough to eat. They want to have, a roof over their heads. They want to be able to take care of their children. They want their children to be able to have good education, right? They want to be able to ensure that when they tell their kids, you know what, you can be anything you put your mind to, that is true.
Right.
Right? That they really can aspire to whatever it is that they want to be. And that they all have the potential. We all have the potential. It's just that we don't all have the same access to really live out that potential. And that's where I believe my greatest responsibility lies.
We are so lucky to have you as a leader in our region. I know for a fact we are better because of you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It really, truly does, take a village. And again, I just want to leave everybody with, I am because you are.
Stephanie, thank you so much. The President and CEO, California Capital Region. It is great to see you.
Great to see you too. Thank you.
Goodbye, my friend.
Goodbye.
Murphy Austin Adams Schoenfeld LLP, focusing on business law and commercial litigation, is proud to support Rob on the Road, Region Rising. More information available at murphyaustin.com.